Hi, it's Kimberly from Enlisted Family, and I'm happy you're joining me today because I have a message that, I don't know, the Lord's just been working on me with these messages, and I started to write it down, and it just kept coming and kept coming, so I just want to share with you. If you're not familiar with Enlisted Family, I hope that you'll take some time to look at all the offerings that we have. The point of Enlisted Family is whether you know it or not, you're in the midst of a great battle. And here's the good news. You get to choose which side you'll fight for. That's fantastic. Here's the better news. You can choose the winning side because we already know how this battle will end. And here's the best news. Jesus has already done all the work for you. So the Bible says if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So welcome to the Enlisted Family channel and welcome to Boot Camp. In today's message, I want to address a phenomenon I see coming to the surface of our broken world. And as Christians, I'm finding that we're unsure of exactly what we believe. And that's terrifying. You know, the Bible says there's going to be a great falling away. And I have to wonder in this time of confusion that we're living in if this is the beginning or if we're in the midst of this great falling away. And I would imagine that if Christians are unsure about what they believe, that would equal us falling away. So let's dig in to this. It's safe to say that we live in a broken and confusing world. And there are some fundamental things, truths, that we used to take for granted, even as recently as 10 to 15 years ago. But now these truths are up for reinterpretation. And I contend it's because of the confusion that we as a populace are so easily swayed, manipulated, and in fact used. An anonymous modern proverb states, if they don't stand for something, they will fall for anything. And right now we are witnessing Christians, the church, literally falling all over themselves. So let's examine first what the majority of people are standing on. And I'm going to say that it seems to be merely shifting sand. In Matthew 7:24-27, Jesus tells us, everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. But it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Christian, if you're watching the news, I hope you recognize that the rains are falling, the floods are coming, and the wind is blowing and beating against your house. So if you are not standing on the truth of Jesus Christ right now, it's time to move. In our modern eras, the great masses are actually standing on shifting sand, and we need to move and stand on the foundation. But here's the next problem. Whose truth? Here's another quote. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people eventually will come to believe it. That's the truth. That is the truth right there. Well, the lie we've been told for years now is that truth is relative, and that's a humongous lie. But we've all heard it, and lots of times. We've heard things like, well, that's my truth, but not your truth, or I have to go with what's my truth. Truth is not relative. They can say that as much as they like, but just as the sun does not revolve around the earth, as people adamantly believed, truth is not relative. It's an absolute, and it's found in the person of Jesus Christ, who himself declared, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So let's explore some of the fundamental truths that seem to be befuddling us. One of the truths is, what is gender? Does that not strike you for a minute? We're not sure what gender is anymore. Until recently, boys were boys and girls were girls, but not anymore. We no longer stand on the solid foundation that declares my gender is synonymous with my body parts. That could definitely lead to some severe confusion. Jesus, the truth, stated unequivocally in Mark 10:6, but at the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. So here's the truth. We have two genders, ordained and established by our Creator, God. They are male and female. Anyone who tells you That there are more than two genders is lying to you. They are knowingly, or maybe unknowingly, trying to tell that big lie enough times so that you will eventually come to believe it. Don't fall for it. Make the solid rock of Jesus and His Word your foundation and stand firm. God made them male and female. Okay, here's another fundamental concept that modern culture says is up for debate. Ready for this one? When does life begin? Common sense would tell us that life begins at the moment of conception, but louder, lying voices want you to believe that's not true. They want you to believe life begins at first breath. They may have gotten away with convincing a lot of people of that idea, but they've slipped up. Now they've pushed the beginning of life to post-birth, and it hinges on whether the birth parents in fact want to be birth parents at that moment in time. In every instance, the extermination of a fully born and breathing child would be and should be considered murder, but they are trying to confuse you into believing that's not the case. You know that truth, and if you need a refresher, Psalm 139 states, you formed my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. I will give you thanks, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the depths of the earth, for your eyes have seen my unformed substance, and in your book were all written the days that were ordained for me, when as yet there was not one of them. Gosh, I love that. That means that the days of your life were written before you were even conceived. It's fantastic. In this fallen world, we could go on and on and on about the big lies that are repeated over and over again, but the most important thing to get straight is that truth is absolute, not relative, and truth can be found in scriptures. Christian, if you're not basing your truth on the Word, you're standing on shifting sand and doing a great disservice to yourself, your family, and your church. It's time to get straight with what you actually believe. Are you believing the big lies of the world, or are you believing Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life? Thank you for taking some time to tune in today. I hope this message encourages you and challenges you if that's what you need it to do right now. Here's one more bit of truth that I'm going to leave you with. The devil knows his time is running out. The world is getting more and more confusing by the day. But God's steadfast remnant knows how the story ends. So Christian, stand firm and resist the devil, and he will flee for you. This is Kimberly from Enlisted Family, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the future.